morning, fellow Toastmasters.
Morning.
Good morning.
Dignity. The quality or characteristic of worthiness, respect, and honor. Many of us perceive dignity as something that is awarded, something that we give to others, something that is external. However, because of my faith tradition, I've come to find that dignity is intrinsic. It is a value that cannot be earned nor taken away. You might ignore someone's dignity, but you have no right to give or take it back. In October 2015, I had the pleasure of going to Amsterdam and Hungary on a discovery mission trip. This mission trip focused on human trafficking, specifically sex trafficking of women, and economic underdevelopment, the relationship between the two. I understand that Colorado in and of itself is the fourth largest corridor for human trafficking in the United States. But to be in Amsterdam, in the red light district, opened my eyes to so much more. And to understand the connection between the fall of communism, economic underdevelopment, neoliberalism, global capital, and all of these things that systematically play into how and why human beings are being exploited every day. During our mission trip, we had the opportunity to go into the red light district. And because there was a mixed population, it was a co-ed population, so there were pastors from across the United States. It was about 12 of us. Some were men. The majority actually were men. And 3 of us were women. The women were invited to look, to gaze, to see. However, the men were encouraged not to make eye contact, if possible, to keep their eyes to the ground, because if they did look up, the women in the window, who still remain in the window, would see them as potential solicitors. And so there I was on this first night in Amsterdam, walking through the red light district, very aware of my foreignness, my outsiderness, as well as the invitation to oogle at other human bodies, bodies that were suggestive and inviting and wanting and needing. And all I could think of were centuries of the exploitation of human life. And I began to wonder what would possess someone to willingly participate in such a structure or a system, until I began to understand that sometimes there is no other choice. For us, fortitude does not look like putting yourself on display in a window. Fortitude does not look like selling your body to send money home to a village in Hungary because you cannot get a job. Fortitude does not look like being willing to allow someone to use you as a means of exchange. And so we think about these situations and the conditions, and sometimes we don't see women who are for sale as dignified. We continue to travel through Amsterdam, and one of our stops was a restaurant entitled Dignita. And Dignita in and of itself is the word dignity. And here at this restaurant were human workers who were committed to transforming the lives and situations of the women in the windows. the lives and situations of those who, if they desired and did everything that they could to come out, that they would have a job to come to. And so here at this restaurant where we went was a woman who was committed to training and giving skills, life skills, to these women and allowing them to work in the restaurant, and many of them going on to have different lives afterwards. But I beg you not to think that the women's lives at the restaurant were that much different, or the women's lives in your job, or the women's lives in your families were that much different than the women in the window. One day, as we were touring Amsterdam, and we had been walking and walking and walking and walking and walking for almost 2 hours, just going around, seeing everything, and our tour guide pointing this here and this there. We found ourselves back in the red light district, but I was not aware, because I had grown accustomed to looking down instead of looking up. And so as I raised my eyes to look around to see where I was, there it was. A young woman in the window, on her job, reading. And in that moment, my life, my consciousness was dramatically struck and changed. Reading is one of my favorite pastimes. I can get lost in a book for hours and not know how the day passed me by. And in that moment, I recognized that here was someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone with hobbies, someone with interests, someone with intellect, who merely worked a job because of the economies around us. And I learned in that moment, dignity is the breath of God in us all.